Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I'm in Manhattan, and I know that to date, the vast majority of my videos have been of me doing crazy shit outdoors, diving, hiking, running, whatever, but I couldn't come to New York City without taking the opportunity to visit my favorite park in the city, which is the High Line. And some of you might want to kill me for this, but I'm going to do a little bit of urban hiking today. Explain the history of the park and how incredible and special it really is. So let's get started. We're here on the southern end of the park by the Whitney Museum. It's a linear park built on an old railroad track that was elevated. It was built in the 1930s in New York City. It was used to bring in meat and all sorts of different products directly into the city. And then by the 1980s, because of the commercial trucking industry, kind of moved it out, so it was completely abandoned and it became overgrown with a bunch of native flora. And some people would climb up here and check it out and see how beautiful it was. They're called Friends of the High Line, or the Proto Friends of the High Line. And eventually, after decades of a lot of hard work, they got the city's buy-in, and they were able to renovate the entire park and build this beautiful combination of flora and architecture and art. It's about a mile and a half long. It's a beautiful walk, and like I said, it's one of my favorite places here in New York, so I hope you enjoy it as well. You can see in the design of the park that they actually have the plants popping through the concrete, reminiscent of how they originally grew when this was just a railroad track, and there's the actual track itself, and you can follow this all the way down. It's really cool. As you can see, the park goes straight through a bunch of buildings in the Chelsea neighborhood of New York, and the reason for that was that when it was, again, a railroad track, the trains would stop in these different buildings and they unload whatever it might be, poultry or meat or different products, straight into the warehouses. So most of these buildings have been converted to apartments or office buildings, and it's really cool to be able to walk straight through them. About half the different plant species that you'll see on the High Line are native to North America, and the designers of the park really try to make it seem like, basically call back to its roots as just an overgrown railroad track. And you can really see that in the grasses and the low shrubs and trees, but you've got all sorts of different flora from across the United States here. You'll find birch, you'll find I think I saw some sage-grass, but very hardy plants that can take the exposure and take the cold. Another great thing about this park is the rotating art installations. So this right here is part of a series called Mutations. It's by a number of different artists, and you'll see them kind of hidden all along the park, and it's supposed to reference the juxtaposition of, that the High Line itself stands for, between nature and man, where, mankind tries to tame nature and nature tries to push back. But it's really cool to find these installations, because sometimes you gotta look a little hard, and sometimes they're just in plain sight. Here we go. Way down there is 10 Hudson Yards. That building way back there, that's still under construction. But here we've got a little amphitheater. A nice little grove to walk through. That's the animal version of the human centipede. this park so much is the architecture you can find all along the way. We've got beautiful buildings of all sorts of different styles, much like you find throughout Manhattan, but it's really gorgeous. And up ahead is one of my favorite buildings, which is the IAC, right there. It was designed and built by Frank Gehry, and it's really just one of the great attractions along the walk. There's the railroad track again. Super cool. It's kind of obscured by the plant life. Here's another mural that you can find all along the path of the High Line. The importance of the High Line extends far beyond the fact that it's a nice place to take a walk in Manhattan. It really revolutionized how a lot of cities saw their derelict and abandoned infrastructure. So for instance, the underline Miami, where I'm from, is a direct, I guess, descendant of the High Line, where they're trying to renovate the area underneath the Metro Rail. And the reason for that is pretty obvious, because of increased property value. It really revitalized neighborhoods. And oh, here we have another of the Mutations installations. Pretty cool. But yeah, it does these, instead of being I guess a drain on the local economy, cities are starting to look at their infrastructure, their long abandoned infrastructure, as net positives. The designers of the park really wanted to put a premium on protecting the plants and wildlife from, the millions of people that come through here every year. So they built this elevated walkway over the bed so that we wouldn't hurt the flora. Some more really cool architecture along the way. Now we're getting to 10 Hudson Yards, which is one of, if not the biggest building along the way. It's actually one of my favorites as well. It's got this massive, hundreds of feet tall atrium right in the middle. It's really beautiful. They're still not done with it though. But at this point, the park is going to head west and in a little bit terminate. We've got another really cool installation. Some fake palm trees, a little reminiscent of home, but definitely not part of the native New York flora. And down there you can see the actual structural support of the High Line, of the elevated railroad track. We're getting to a really cool section of the High Line now. This area they actually tried to keep more wild, less planned and less designed. So you'll see a lot less groundskeeping here, and a lot more of just, harkening back to the first days or the older days of the High Line, where just native plants colonized the bed of the railroad. So I think it's really cool because it calls back to what it actually used to look like back in the day. These tubes aren't industrial trash that was left up here, but rather an art installation that follows the last leg of the High Line. I forget the name of the artist, but it's pretty colorful, playful, pretty neat. Over there, there's the Hudson. That's the end of the High Line. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you find yourself in New York, I definitely suggest you come check this place out. It's one of my favorite places here. But if you liked the video, please share and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys around next time.